start ever, maybe the hottest start to come out of the gate for anybody. If you look at how well he is playing right now, batting .427, 10 homers, 32 RBIs. I could go down the list. And he was the MVP last year. If you look at the numbers last year at this time, the end of April, he was batting .207. What a difference. Joining us now to talk about him and everything baseball is USA Today baseball columnist Bob Nightengale. Bob, can you compare this to anything that you recall as long as you've been covering baseball, this kind of start by a player?
Not really. I mean, you got to start thinking, I don't remember exact starts, but you got to go back to the Barry Bonds days or Albert Pujols with the Cardinals. I mean, to have to be this great as far as, power, batting average, everything else. Those two guys could have learned the most.
Well, let me follow up with this real quick. The thing that's interesting, too, is May is his month historically. So, I mean, when do we get the conversation? Is he going to finish 400? Because that seems to always be the buzz.
Yeah, it takes a while. I remember last year. What was it last year? No, I guess 2 years ago when Luis Arias was flirting with it for about 80 half a year, then fade off. So you probably won't start to get even that subject brought up much until June. It's just so hard to do. I'm not sure. If we'll see it again. If you see it, it's going to take some guy like a Rise or the speedy guy like a Chandler Simpson in Tampa, who rarely strike out, that sort of thing. But it's so tough. And we haven't had a right-hander do that since like the 1920s.
With the start by Judge, do you think eventually he might get the Barry Bonds treatment where he's walked intentionally all the time, including when Bonds was walked intentionally with the bases loaded while he was still playing for the Giants? Will Judge start to get that kind of respect?
I would think so. I certainly would. Why not? There's no one like him in that lineup. Paul Goldschmidt, has got good numbers, playing well this year. He got some help, but still, for the guy to be as dominant a game like he is, you certainly want to pitch around him. It's amazing what he's doing, and his contract looks like an absolute steal. If this guy been making half the money of Juan Soto, he's a better player than Juan Soto.
So, Bob, as you mentioned, you talk about Goldie, leading off, but Gresham and Rice are behind him, and Volpe. They've all played fairly well, but I mean, it's kind of at that point, as those guys have been very productive, especially Grisham, who's hitting close to 300. You got to pick your poison a little bit in reference to how fine you are. I can see him walking them, keeping everything away, but you've got some guys in front and behind him as well, too.
Yeah, you do. And Rice has really been a surprise. We'll see what happens. We'll see how long, Grisham can keep this up too. What he hit like 170, 180 last year, that sort of thing. But at some juncture, you got to pitch around him. He's just he's too good of a player. I mean, he's still the best player in the game.
Bob, it's all about winning series. DBacks took care of business today, and they take 2 of 3 from the New York Mets, which is outstanding, as hot as they were to enter this series. Looking ahead to Philadelphia now. I know, all right, they just got done, 36 minutes ago or whatever it was, but that's what we do. We look ahead. So when you look ahead to Philadelphia, what could this mean for this team, the Diamondbacks, if they could take 2 of 3 from Philadelphia?
Yeah, I mean, Philly's one of the top, 5 teams in baseball. And certainly give them some momentum, returning home and facing the same Mets team, and then the Dodgers for 4 games. Showing that they can play with anybody in the National League. So, I mean, everybody knows the National League West is the best division. And, impressive. I think the Mets haven't lost back-to-back games at home since last July. Philadelphia can be a bear, at home. I think it shows that they can play with everybody. And I think Gallen showed today, how good of a pitcher, he can be. When that rotation is clicking, it's as good as any rotation in the game.
Well, I think it's a chance for them to take advantage. The Padres have lost 6 out of 10. You look at the Giants, they've 500 the last 10 games. But the Giants this year, Bob, in reference to here's this team at 19 and 12. What are they quietly doing to be in the hunt at 19 and 12 and only 2 games back here at the beginning of May?
Yeah, they've been getting some great pitching, but some uncanny clutch hitting. I want to say, in key situations, are hitting about 400, getting a lot of production from guys you didn't expect. So we'll see what happens. I would, of the teams in the NL West, I would expect them to be the team that drops off some. I just think they're playing over their head. I'm not sure they can, win around 90 games, which is going to take to get in the playoffs. I'm not sure they're in the same caliber as the Dodgers, the Padres, and Diamondbacks.
Staying with the Diamondbacks, Bob, pitching obviously is a big deal late. The bullpen has not been doing quite well. We're getting some injuries here, and Martinez with the shoulder, and Puck now being out for it looks like 60 days now. When do we start talking about looking at some of these teams like the Rockies who are rock bottom right now and see if they can pick a player here and there?
Yeah, I'm sure, they're already out there canvassing it, whether it's a Ryan Helsley from St. Louis Cardinals or, some of these teams that are, they're going to be big-time sellers. I'm not sure the White Sox have that type of closer, or the Rockies do. But, it's only picking guys up. I mean, even the Dodgers are scrambling. They just picked up Fire Eisen, who the Diamondbacks dumped. Another guy that was designated for assignment. So it seems like everybody's scrambling for bullpen help. And the Dodgers have, least amount of innings from their starters. So I think they're really starting to get worried about, okay, what's it going to look like, come on August and September.
Was Shelby Miller a closer in waiting all those years as a starter?
3 minutes. 3 minutes.
With the Diamondbacks. I mean, I got to tell you, Bob, this guy's been nothing. He's been nails these last outings, again, closing it out for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, maybe the time's right. I mean, sometimes these guys just, thrive as years go on. I mean, we saw that with, Evan Phillips, Kirby Yates, that sort of thing. Michael Kopech was a failed starter. Now he's a reliever. So yeah, the time just may be right. And, those guys are valuable. I mean, you rather, if a guy is good, you'd rather have him in the starting rotation because he can throw as many innings for you. But a guy like Shelby Miller, who struggled as a starter, has been a great pickup. And he was good last year with the Tigers.
Bob Nightengale is our guest on the Right Toyota guest line. Bob, is there a team that has surprised you so far? Look, Kansas City is playing solid baseball in the AL Central. The Reds are competing in the NL Central. But is there a team that you are, I guess,
2 minutes,
kind of thinking about, wow, I didn't expect them to be that good right away?
Yeah, I am surprised by the Mets and the Cubs. Just saw the Cubs a lot this spring. Thought they were, like an 85-win team, which would still be good enough to win the division, but not to have the best offense in the game. They lit up Paul Skeens for his career worst outing. Yeah. So they've been a surprise too. And I didn't think the Mets had the starting rotation. I said, okay, particularly without, a couple of guys getting hurt, like, Minaya. And they got the number one pitching staff in baseball. So those two teams probably, jump out at the most. We didn't think Seattle was, Seattle's been such a flirt all these years. And now they're finally scoring runs. They've had a couple of big-time injuries in their rotation. And I thought the Reds would be good. I thought Terry Francona coming over would just be a huge boost, where I think they've kind of underachieved the last couple of years.
Bob, as Jimmy alluded to, that surprise team that you like, is May the month where reality sets in? You talked about San Francisco, how long maybe they start coming back in the pack. So is it May where things really start to settle in and we start to see who these teams really are? Or is it up until the All-Star break?
Well, I kind of, after May's over, you kind of say, okay, how good is this team going to be? Do they have a chance? I mean, last year we thought, okay, the Houston Astros are done. We're going to start selling. And then they tore it up in May and said, okay, they'll be fine. Atlanta started off 0-7. Now they're just too below 500. They've been playing a lot better. So, yeah, May gives you a better indication. Certainly up.
Clear to start wrapping. Clear to wrap.
Like, okay, is this team going to be a seller? Going to be a buyer? Is it for real? And sometimes you're completely fooled. I mean, the Detroit Tigers, all in front office, gave up on the team last year. They dumped Jack Flaherty at the trade deadline, and they end up making the playoffs and could use Jack Flaherty.
If you need one follow on X, it's Bob Nightengale at B Nightengale. Check it out as always. Thank you for your time, Bob. We appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Sure, my pleasure. Take care, guys. Thanks.
USA Today baseball columnist Bob Nightengale joining us here on the Right Toyota guest line. Is that what it is, Jimmy?
That's it.
Yep.
That's his moniker, man. You know he's bringing it. He's bringing it with the Right Toyota guest line.
He has never interviewed anybody on this show without saying Right Toyota.
Well, 100%.
And I was looking at the contract yesterday on how many we're supposed to give them a week.
Okay.
And I think it's 10. So you get them if we have 5, 6, they're getting 28 is what I think they're getting right now.
I'll try to cut down.
Instead of 10.
No,
okay.
no.
I don't think you can do an interview without it.
No.
I don't think you could do an interview without it. It's so customary. We all have our,
those guys like me there. They like me at Right Toyota.
But you drive like a little clown car. You don't even drive a Toyota. At least Manuch does.
I drive a Corolla. You're driving a Honda there, big fella. I want you to trade that in.
All right. It's about Right Toyota. Also, it's Right Honda. So we're good with that. All right. We're in May. We're going to tell you some of the things to look forward to in May. Plus, we're going to talk about the transfer portal, specifically with Arizona State. That's football at 50.